Quack. Quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack.
12 and... Ow! I am your host, Adam Chamail.
And I am your co-host with the mostos, Brazos, Aaron Schroeder.
That is right. And this is the Quack 12 podcast, the most official, unofficial Oregon Ducks podcast on the web footosphere. In Aaron, we have our living, breathing mascot, TD the Duck, in studio. If viewers want to see it, well, if their viewers are already seeing it, but if listeners want to view it, then go over to the Quack 12 podcast YouTube or the Quack 12 podcast Twitter, and
Adam,
you will see our beautiful living duck. What's that?
You got to see it to believe it, baby.
You really do. It's pretty fantastic. Did you know? Well, first of all, did you know I went to the game thanks to two wonderful, wonderful listeners.
There we go.
That gave
Shout
me
out.
And a friend who had never been to Autzen tickets.
You've never been to Autzen either.
No, me and a friend who had never been to Autzen. I've been to Autzen.
What?
I'm not insane and host a duck podcast and yet have never been to Austin like
And
Autzen,
here I am.
like some other people.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
you being there is what probably won the game.
Wow.
Let's
What
be
can I
real.
say?
This was all you're doing.
And it wasn't just a win. It was a freaking beatdown. I don't know if you noticed that.
If we're ready to get into it.
Let's get into
but
it.
first, before we jump into it, everybody, as Adam mentioned, we have video. We also have a Patreon that you can go and support us by giving us $5 a month. That would be so awesome of you because that's literally the only thing we're trying to make happen. Monetization, baby. Also, if you can't afford $5, we totally get that because, you know what? Shrinkflation is upon us, and we've all got to watch the wallet. So if you could just head over to iTunes, give us 5 stars, rate, review us, tell us you love us, tell us you hate us. I don't give a shit, really. Just say something so it puts us at the top of the food chain. Quack, quack, Adam, back to you.
All right. Wow. That was the most professional I've ever seen you. I stumble over my words. Meanwhile, you're leaning back, smoking
to break
a joint.
to break the fourth wall, as they say, I'm smoking on a fine sativa today, sir. So it's feeling really
good.
great.
Not a sponsor. Sativa, not a sponsor, could be. Aaron, the game was wonderful. The atmosphere was fantastic. Was as ferocious as you'd want it to be. I was next to some college-age, fine young boys. One of them was kind of a drunk asshole, but he did not make it long into the game. So
he didn't make it long?
Not really. There was a situation where it's like we got there and he's like, and like he was already wasted from the get-go, like kind of doing things where he was combining like Duct Tape, like, you know, you usually want to boo the other team. He kind of combined that with the O, like he was going Bo. I don't think he was chanting for Bo. I think he was just drunk enough to combine those two things.
I love it.
And then he took a huge swig of smuggled in Buffalo Trace. And this was about like halfway through the second quarter, and then he was like, "Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom," and we never saw him again. I knew he would never find the seats once he took the swig. But it was a fantastic time.
Do you think he brought the Buffalo Trace as like a, I'm gonna drink down this Buffalo Trace like we're gonna stomp down on these Colorado Buffmen?
Very much so. Which
You think he
I
themed
like the
it?
theming, yeah.
Because
sometimes theming can go wrong. Like when you're an Oregon Duck mascot and you dress up as Deion Sanders, and you go out to beat a giant clock, but then your head falls off and you have to run, flee in shame.
It answers the question everybody was curious. Who's under the suit? And now we know. In that game, it was a dude.
On that day, it was a dude. That is right. But who is the dude? Was it me? I'll never tell. Aaron,
you were there, so you're not out of the realm of possibility.
Other side of the field, though. Other side of the field.
Game I saw you on TV.
Oh, yeah, man, because they had to drag me out. I was streaking.
Yeah, You were fan number 7023964.
702. Okay.
It works. There's dashes.
There wasn't much drama on the field because
Right.
it was an absolute butt kicking. Except for my favorite play by far was the fake punt, in which Casey Rogers, the
Wow.
D lineman,
Dude.
shows his moves, and our
Dude.
punter selling that bad snap was amazing too.
Yeah.
Deserves an Oscar.
There's no way to repeat that play. We can't do that play again this season. We used it.
Unless we
Used
did
it
a
up.
fake punt, that'd be good.
Well, it'd be great if I guess actually we can still use it because you're right. It was the selling of the bad snap that made it just be like, I was lost.
Oh yeah,
It took me 2 replays to see it. I was like, this is
I
amazing.
definitely and it was on our own 17-yard line.
Mhm.
We used to call Chip Kelly Big Boss Chip, but Dan Lanning's got a pair on him too. That
Dude,
is
Dan Lanning
nuts.
is out there getting wild, okay?
Yeah.
These are facts. I will say, overall,
Mm-hmm.
this game ended up looking a lot like last week's game, or the game prior against who
Against
I can't
Hawaii.
even remember. Hawaii.
That's right.
But way more exciting, way more fun. It was a more fun beatdown to experience. And I do wish it would have stayed 42-0 for the whole game.
Oh, that was really fun because it actually, it was a beatdown, like you said.
Yeah.
But there was that little bit of intrigue. Probably the most interesting 2 things, I would say, is seeing if Colorado finished with more penalty yards than offensive yards.
I
And
didn't
then
even know
also-
that was a race.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Tragic.
because, especially with the sacks, they were like in negative rushing yards for like a good chunk of. They were like negative 33 rushing yards for quite a bit.
Dang.
Or 1 rushing yard for like the first
Ha.
half, just about.
Wow.
But the other thing that was interesting was seeing if we were going to preserve that goose egg, that duck egg,
Yeah.
and we put in a lot of our backup, like secondary and such,
Right.
on that final drive, and they were able to score. But it was still good where it was like, I'm glad Dan Lanning did that, not just to preserve health for starters. But
Oh,
also,
yeah.
like, something to root for. Yeah, like, hey, guys, preserve the lead. Go out there, see if you can stop them. This is still the number 1 Colorado offense,
Yeah.
out there. So I'm glad he did it. I wish he would have stopped him, though, because the 0 really does mean a whole, like, that's a beatdown. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
There's always a time in Rocket League whenever I'm up like 3-0 or whatever, and there's still like a minute and a half left in the game that I'm like, fuck, I have to hold on to this. But then as soon as you start thinking about it, that's when you lose it.
Yeah.
So I think collectively, everyone watching the game was like, are we going to get to keep that fucking egg?
Oh, yeah.
And will
Oh,
it
yeah.
be the egg that births our new Robo-Duck mascot coming 2026?
That's why we let him score. We didn't want another egg.
Yeah,
in
we
Austin,
didn't
'cause
need
we were
another.
afraid
We didn't need
what it
another
would
one of them.
It was a pinstripe game, meaning, green, yellow, green in the stands. Overall, I think it worked. There was definitely sections where it's like, look at that whole family didn't get the fucking memo. Look at all those greens and the yellow, which was pretty easy. It was like, if you're in an even section, wear green, I think it was. If you're an odd, wear yellow, but too complicated for some.
They tell you what to do as a fan to go into the stadium?
Not often. Usually, we're just like, wear green or yellow. Wear a duck thing. It's fine. But we were trying. So many of those other colleges have that. We were trying it. It went pretty well for Autzen. But
I don't like
we
it.
could do better. We could do better.
No, we need to not do it. What you're describing is what I like to
Fascism.
call, basically, yes.
Fashionism.
Fashionism, because as soon as you can get 70,000 people to all do the exact same thing for a football game, then they're just, then you got them on lock. You got their brains, and we don't
They're
need
drones.
that. Everybody, if you're going to the next game, go naked. Don't wear anything. Protest.
I mean,
Unionize.
at Stanford, you're going to Bay Area. So you can probably be naked and it'll probably be fine. There's not going to be anyone any Stanford fans there.
Yo,
so.
this is it. If we're going to Stanford next, dress up like a lumberjack, get in there, have yourself a great time. Don't worry about green and yellow. Just go traditional Paul Bunyan. I think that would be better. Maybe paint your babe blue.
Well, if I'm going naked, then it's gonna be shades of pink, brown, dark brown, and light brown.
What's
those
the
will
pink
be,
part?
Let's not get into that.
Anyway, you got news. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
First of all, I wanted to say, so the game, not a whole lot of drama on the field. So much drama off the field, which you got to give credit to Deion Sanders. Actually, a lot of what he was saying, he was being like, yeah, we got our butts kicked, hand it to him. Ducks are a good team. Like, he was saying every normal thing you'd want to say. Kind of like, Ducks are a good team.
Everything we're not going to say.
Yeah, we're not going to be pushovers in the future. We're going to get some more linemen. We're going to be better. But power to Dan Lanning and the Duck. Like, paraphrasing, but that was basically it. But so much coverage of this game, it was still all about Colorado, which just goes to show you the power of a cult of personality. Like what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean,
if the narrative is on Colorado's side, even when we kick their butts.
Yeah, if there's one thing we did, it was we slapped Deion Sanders so hard we knocked the lettering Coach Prime off his jacket. Like, you can't call him that anymore. Not Prime. Dude is well done.
I like it. Hopefully they'll use that little clip of you for fuel in their next game. But you have people like on ESPN, like Keyshawn Johnson, famous USC Trojan, wide receiver for Panthers stuff. He was just like as if it's conspiracy theory, being like, yeah, other coaches called Dan Lanning and told him what to do against Colorado, which is ridiculous.
What did he say this on? What AM radio station?
No, it was like on goddamn, I think it was like Skip Bayless or something. I fucking hate these kind of shows. But it was truly like, what information would they have told us? Like, we kicked their ass just playing football. Like, there was no secret things going on. Was truly, we were a better team. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, the one that I heard, which I think is actually more apropos, is that, Deion Sanders is still doing a good job working with what he's got, putting it, he is putting fuel to the fire. Probably true. It's his first, it was a lot of first season, blah, 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 getting to learn the program, blah, 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 new role, blah, blah, blah. It was a lot of that stuff. It was wave it off. But this was such a beatdown. Yeah. This was such, you should have gotten 14 points, maybe 17 points would have made more sense to me.
I'll tell you there, man.
They didn't do good.
No, they did not. One thing, and their line hasn't been good all year, even in their wins. So, there was nothing new. And, still, power to Colorado. I'm rooting for them when they play USC. It's going to be great. I'll tell you, when you're there, when you can really see the secondary in action, because the camera cuts that off usually.
Yeah.
He had no one to throw to. Everyone was covered. We should have been at the Waffle House, man, because they were smothered and covered. All right.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to be Texan and give you an analogy here.
Sure.
Something you
skip it.
Oh, but so that was why the pressure was really getting to him too, because he had no one to throw to. Shiloh Sanders, he holds onto the ball too long. And so they were getting to him. There was no one open, even if even if he did have the time. And not only that, but it's funny how much the narrative was like, oh, Oregon, they're being really classy. Like Dan Lanning before his pregame speech, they showed it on ESPN. Yeah, where he was just like, they're doing it for clicks. Go back to Hollywood, even though
we're doing it.
Colorado.
Yeah, they're doing it for clicks. We're doing it for wins.
Yeah.
My only argument to that.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning. Of course they're doing it for clicks. They need to be doing it for clicks because they're trying to raise money.
Yeah.
We're the bad guys. This is my only issue. It's like, dude, don't go there. We have the most money. It's disgusting how much we get to play with. Like, back off. I get you're hyping up your team.
I loved it. I loved it.
Don't make them the bad guys. Let them learn to hate.
Keep this in mind. There's a really well edited video, all right, of the other Sanders and stuff like that, and just Colorado's strength and conditioning coach and stuff, just like clearly doing stuff that if there was footage of Oregon doing this shit, people would be like, oh yeah, there's Oregon, classic bad guys, like them stomping on the O midfield.
What?
Sanders, yeah. Oh, yeah, before they came, stomping on the old midfield.
Did you see this in person?
No,
this
but
is
there's
before the gates opened.
This is the day before or something like that. Coming over to the... I mean, this could just be clever editing, but pretty sure the other Sanders coming over to...
Are you saying the other Sanders, or are you saying
I forget
Deion?
his... I am saying the other Sanders, because there's this two...
Junior.
There's Shiloh Sanders, I'm pretty sure is the name.
Okay.
There's Shiloh Sanders on the defense, and there's Shadur Sanders as the QB. So Shiloh Sanders literally coming over and being like while we're stretching and stuff, being like, y'all are small, I'm going to run through your ass. And like the strength conditioning coach being like, oh, it's all corny shit, but like, call an ambulance because the Ducks are about to be murdered and shit. It was like... It's not just Oregon saying this poster shit. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the last thing you need to do when someone's been murdered is call an ambulance. Obviously, the first thing you want to do is call Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, get it. God damn it.
You don't need Sherlock Holmes
because there's about to be a murder.
This murder was... we figured out who did it. It was the Oregon Ducks. It was a very clear murder.
Look,
and they admit it. He admitted it.
Look, all of their things, I kind of take it back now because maybe now Dan Lanning is, I mean, if they're doing that kind of bullshit, then what Dan Lanning is saying is like, right, they're saying all this loudmouth hoorah shit for the clicks. So fuck that.
That's exactly it.
I get it. Okay, now I get it. I thought he himself.
ESPN really, really has been riding Colorado. Like to the point where even right now the narrative is still about Colorado, even after Oregon beats them.
Wasn't Deion Sanders a talking head for ESPN?
Oh yeah. Well, he's
he's on the payroll.
It all makes sense. Well, yeah, and Colorado's going to Big 12. Like, they'd rather talk about Colorado than, what will soon be a Fox Big 10 product. So,
Fox is the worst because you can't stream it live outside of your Wi-Fi stations. Anyway, I digress.
Well, yeah. Yeah. We kicked their ass. I mean, there's really not that much exciting stuff to talk about that. I'll tell you this. Sabrina Ionescu.
Oh, okay.
Playoffs, baby. Yep. As is Satu Sabli. I mean, those are the two, WNBA players we're really talking about here.
Yeah.
Sabrina Ionescu, she's been having some good games. They won the first series. They're in their second series, which is a best of 5, which is good because they lost the first game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We really want... I mean, this is the semifinals. They're going against Connecticut. The Connecticut Suns, who have been to the last 5 semifinals and very regularly in the finals. So they're a very good team. They beat us 78-63, even though we've been getting the better of them. I say we are New York Liberty fans. We've been getting the better of them all season long, but they beat us this game. Today, as of the recording today, Tuesday, 5 p.m., I believe on ESPN. We're all going to watch it. We want the numbers to be huge. We got to support the dream team. And then actually 7 p.m. Satu Sabli plays. They also lost their first game. I believe that's also going to be on ESPN or something like that. One of them. So keep your eye on that. I would prefer, for ratings-wise, the Aces versus Liberty. Those are the two best teams that everyone's been really
What you doing there, guy?
Camera. I hate my camera. Listeners, don't get a camera with an autofocus, or at least a cheap one, because I have been fucking around with this thing for so long, and now I'm just going to have to get one without an autofocus feature.
I mean,
because it drives me crazy.
The other thing, there's gotta be some kind of software that you can download for it where you
There
can turn it
is,
off, right?
and I did, and I followed the things, and then I turned it off, and it still fucking doesn't do it. So don't buy Nexigo. Guess what, Nexigo company?
Oh wow.
This is an anti-ad
Oh
that
my
you
God.
bought
Okay,
by having
Adam,
a shitty product, okay?
Yeah, no, well,
You
Adam,
bought this ad from us by
let's
having
talk about-
shit that you sold to me.
I think we need to quickly just preface that energy with
I'm
the fact that
pissed.
you notoriously refuse to buy quality electronics because
That
in
is
your own
true.
words, they're just going to break anyway.
It's true.
I'm surrounded by some of the most expensive electronic equipment you can get. It will never break, ever. That's why
God
it costs more
damn.
money.
I wish
You did.
I wish your equipment was a sponsor, because right now would be the perfect time to cut to a sponsor.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, women's NBA needs more money. I'm glad Sabrina Ionescu is trying to pull in some bucks and some ad dollars
yeah.
to show that.
Hey, let me tell you this. I don't have anything to say besides I'm trying to pay attention to more volleyball, okay? Because specifically Oregon women's volleyball, which is our only volleyball team, fucking rules, man. They're a top 10 team right now. They're very fun to watch. Carson Bacon was just named Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week.
Whoa.
By the way, Jackson Powers Johnson, I believe, got a award like that too. But women's volleyball is absolutely killing it. They've only lost one game, and that was to a highly ranked team. They're 12-1. They're actually getting record sales for their games, and season tickets are still cheap as hell. So I'm just encouraging everyone, join me on the Oregon volleyball bandwagon too. I'm going to try to watch more, try to go to more games. They're just fun. They're a fun team. And I wanted to shout them out before I forgot about them.
Oh, man. I bet the tickets are really well priced. Very reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. They're absolutely reasonable, especially for, a nationally relevant team.
Also, it's about to get nasty outside, so get inside a stadium. But but be safe.
Be safe.
Use
be safe
face
out there.
condoms.
By the way, a few more little things of news here. We got a 5-star defensive lineman, a class of 2026. So usually I don't even pay attention once it's fucking 2026.
That's so far away.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's too many things that can happen between.
Yeah. Tony Cumberland, get this.
Okay.
Was this about your measurements back in the day? So he is a goddamn 15-year-old? He's the class of 2026.
Okay.
Or 2023
15.
right now.
Yeah.
I think he's something like that. Benefit of the doubt, you could say he's 16. Imagine these measurements. 6'4", 250 pounds.
Good God.
Yeah.
That's a kid who's been held back about 4 times.
That's a kid I wouldn't ID at a bar.
So,
like, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I up until, for real, through senior year of high school, I was a solid 6'2", 185.
Oh, you were string bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
You were skinnier than a line of coke at a bad dealer's house.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make you feel all Texan with the.
There's just no way I could put on. There's just no way I could put on my hyperactivity plus a really well-tuned metabolism just made it impossible. And I'd eat the living. I would eat so much.
You would eat living shit?
Yeah, I would drink an entire gallon of milk a day. It pissed my mom off. She would stop buying milk, or it's disgusting.
Fair enough. That is too much milk.
It's too much milk. It's disgusting. I don't even drink milk now. It's probably because of that.
No joke. And I want to say this little
6'5", 250.
I got a little bit of bad news before we go into a commercial break, and then we get into really good news, which is we're bringing Hythloday on the show. Noah Whittington, we don't know how long he's out.
Oh,
he took
God.
a bad tackle.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, Dan Lanning doesn't like to talk about injuries. He even likes to talk about how he doesn't like to talk about injuries.
Great.
But even he said, he's going to be out for, a couple weeks. So that means it could be more than a couple weeks. It's all speculation, but it is bad. Maybe not season. Really, fingers crossed, not season. But we can expect more snaps from, like, Jordan James and Dowdell and all of them. Yeah. But certainly Bucky probably going to take a bigger share than he has. But power to you, Whittington. Power
to you. Yeah. I love Jordan James. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it out loud, and I want to see the ball in his hands more. It's amazing. Yeah. That kid. Woo!
Yeah. I agree, dude.
You know what? The other thing, too, is maybe you don't want to talk about the injury stuff because the science of football, it's got ACLs healing in 2 days. So whatever kind of Nazi science is going on.
All right.
We don't need to talk about it.
Once we hit Nazi science, I think it's time to go to a commercial.
We got to get out of here, bro. We got to get out of here.
We got to get out of here.
All right. We'll be right back with Hythloday and more Quack 12 podcast.
After this break. Well, Aaron, hate to say it, but the time machine is broken.
I mean, this whole thing was running off the power of your cell phone. And obviously, when we hit 1894, there's no longer cell service or Wi-Fi connection, so...
Not gonna lie, I did not think this through.
God almighty, Adam, what are we supposed to do now?
I mean, we're in Eugene, Oregon in 1894. We could check out the very first Duck game. Maybe it's a good thing.
No, it's not good. Look, we've already been here for about 5 days, and the very first thing I learned living in Eugene, Oregon, is that shows have been banned that are quote-unquote unchaste and demoralizing. And that's kind of the only kind of content we know how to make, dude.
We could review every Duck season as it happens.
Even the children here are freaky.
Then post it on the Quack 12 Patreon in the future.
I mean, it's just really hard to not spoil, tragic national events.
Imagine it, a weekly show dedicated to Oregon football history with 2 charismatic time-traveling stoner hosts.
We live in the most expensive house in Eugene, and it's a fucking shack.
And the most beautiful thing about it? We can charge them a measly $5 in the future. And when we get it in the past, we'll be freaking millionaires comparatively. And I'm talking robber baron status, baby.
Adam, I make bugs fight in a shoebox just to simulate television.
All listeners would have to do is go to patreon.com/quack12 and sign up for hundreds of hours of duck entertainment.
But the hooch is good. In fact, it's kind of got me wanting to try my own hand at it.
That's right. For a measly $5 a month, that's patreon.com/quack12. Now let's go watch them lemon yellows give those hay seeds what for.
And keep your eye out for Dr. Schroeder's blueberry wine.
And we are back on Quack.
Adam, every time I hear that commercial, the more I'm just amazed at A, my acting abilities, and B, your directorialship. Absolutely stunning.
What can I say? Every time I listen to it.
Yeah, you need to make a movie in like a 48 or 72 hour film competition. I bet you'd do really good at like producing it.
Oh my goodness. Well, listeners, keep your ears open for more of that later. But every time I hear that commercial, I want to give $5 to the Quack 12 Patreon, but that's just
I hope that everybody else does as well.
Well, friends, it's that time of the show where we bring a close friend, the number one guest, basically
you could
the
say
third
the show's
co-host.
best friend.
Best friend, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Addicted to Quack's managing editor, the official film reviewer of Addicted to Quack, I should say. I wanted to say the Oregon Ducks, but he's not official. He basically is, though.
He should be.
I mean, they should hire him. They should hire the man.
He maybe is, and we don't know. He's never told us.
That's not true. They have far more professional and capable people on staff.
Hythloday of Addicted to Quack. How's it going?
AKA Dan Lanning. Hello, Dan Lanning. How you doing today?
Not Dan Lanning. I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. I understand that you had just about the worst thing that could ever happen to a college football fan. You had a Saturday fall wedding, and I'm so sorry for you, Hythloday.
Yeah, it was a lovely ceremony.
You don't have to lie. It's all right. It happened on a Saturday during a Duck game. It's terrible.
I mean,
weddings are disgusting. They're almost worse than having like a newborn baby.
Yeah, these are things we hate.
Nah, not at all. I did the film study on this game. I knew it was going to happen. I was probably going to watch it with half an eye anyway. I went to my cousin's wedding, or second cousin anyway. I did a little drinking. I did a lot of dancing.
Hell yeah, bro.
I hooked up with one of the members of the wedding party, as one does.
Talk about newborn babies.
Yeah.
Actually, I hope we're not related.
I was just about to say, we find out it's actually his wife, and we're like, wait a second, if that was in the...
Well, I'll transition.
I don't know their fighty score. Like I have to know like the chess scores of everybody in my family, because like my entire family is like a bunch of like diplomats and scholars and like not sports fans. Is how a fall wedding happened in my family. Like like they're all like definitely like players of games. To quote
war games.
Banks. Well, no comment on that. But like. But like, yeah, no, like they throw bones, like they're ruthless at throwing bones. That's how we spend Sunday. In fact, like this cousin, I've actually commented on who got married. I've actually commented on Reddit before, because like they always pair me up whenever we play doubles. They always pair me up with this cousin, because to Harrison Bergeron me, because he does not understand that playing a 4-3 on a scoring 4-4 is also scoring. Like it's basic arithmetic. Anyway, like yeah, but like chess, like my entire family is fighty ranked, and I gotta know, like I'm the black sheep of the family because I like sports, and like and the only reason they tolerate me is because of my chess ranking, I guess. Like anyway,
that's great. I love that you're the nerd in your family. Because of
jock,
sports.
if anything.
Because of sports, you're the nerd.
Yeah.
I'd like to just point out this is a truly rare and wonderful thing. Now, Hythloday holds himself accountable in his articles, as we all know.
Yeah.
Visitors of Addicted to Quack, this wonderful website, and readers of Duct Tape, the absolute best film review on all the interweb foot. Duct Tape film review of Week 4, 2023 versus Colorado. Listeners, watchers, go over there right now and read this. But at the very end, there's always an accountability corner. Now, this is where Hythloday says, like, oh, I thought this guy was a chump, but really he was great against us. This QB, I didn't think he'd throw the deep ball, but then, lo and behold, look at this. This is a beautiful accountability. Usually it's like 2 or 3 paragraphs. This is one sentence. All predictions in last week's preview proceeded nominally. Just call it. You called your shot, and it happened exactly that way. And Hythloday, definitely, when we were talking to Jack Barsh, and you were really kind of asking him, just like, okay, Shiloh Sanders is is it he doesn't want to go for the deep ball, or he doesn't want to go for the deep ball when it's not there. Regardless of whether that, like, being at that game, it made me feel really good to actually see our secondary, like, in person, and that there was no one for him to throw to. And when he was holding on too long, there were like 3 ducks in his face taking him down. Like, just the defensive performance, obviously. Like, we were going for the goose egg, but it was really wonderful to see. And what anyone who was looking at these teams like thought could be a possibility. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, no, it was an excellent defensive performance, certainly. I mean, basically, as film study revealed, although you didn't need to watch the film too closely to know it, Colorado doesn't have a run game. They're forced into passing, pretty much constantly. I mean, this game was really, it was like a 3-to-1 basis in their previous 3 games. It was, they had like 2. In the entire first half, they ran the ball twice on designed run plays. I mean, there was a third, but it wasn't even really to run. It was like 3rd and 33, and they were just running for for field position to give the punter some breathing room. So it was like 20 passes to 2 runs. Number one, and then number two is like, their passing game is sort of in a position where they either go to max protect in order to protect the quarterback long enough against the pass rush. But of course, the downside there is you only have a couple guys in the pattern, which makes it easier for Oregon to cover them. Or they go to their horizontal passing game, which A, is not going to move the ball very far, and B, in order to put more dudes into the pattern, you have, less dudes in protection, and Oregon was just eating them alive with the, with their pressure, and because they can't block, which is why I just always come back, so you don't have a run game, you can't block, and you need assistance in pass protection. It's why, like, every single podcast that we record, previews, reviews, film study in between, your offensive line is your football team. And it's why, whenever Oregon is losing more than one dude in an off season, it's like I freak out about the offensive line. It's like, yeah, and it's why, like, Oregon runs the conference, most years. Don't skimp out on your offensive line, man, and don't treat it like, and whenever we talk to people, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Jack, I enjoy our conversations with Jack. I hope we get to talk to Jack again soon. The number one thing that I'm sad about the conference, realignment is that all of our great friends that we've made over the years in doing our preview series, Adam, like Jack, like, when are we gonna get to talk to Jack next? Probably not gonna beat that team in the playoffs anytime soon.
Hode Rubino. We will never see Hode Rubino again after we talk to him.
I mean, who knows, man? Like, but anyway, like, for all the teams who are like, I'm super excited about all these skill players, I'm super duper excited, and then I say, okay, let's talk about the offensive line, and they say, oh man, do we have to? And I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, we have to.
That could be the whole preview, really.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Yeah. We should. Yeah, exactly. We should just ditch everything else and just be like the line previews. The only stuff that matters, and it's like that's what you saw for 60 minutes, or really just 30 minutes. On Saturdays, the line. It's what matters.
That felt nice of you to say garbage time was the beginning of second half, because I felt like it could have been, but you're technically like, well,
it actually
it's still
really,
the first half of the
watching
game, so.
Oregon's sixth possession, so it's 28-0. Oregon gets the ball with like a minute and 30 and change, left, and Colorado, they're not quite in a prevent defense, but like they don't really think that Oregon's going to be able to score without deep throws, and so they kind of abandon the middle of the field, and Oregon hits like 3 passes for a combined like 42 yards in 25 seconds. It's like, don't do that, Colorado. That was real dumb.
Which is nice to see too, that Oregon is kind of offense that's going like, oh, they're giving us this, let's do that. Not being like, we need to,
Yeah, it's quick assessment and predatory. Like, it's not like, an opportunity to run out the clock and get into halftime and mop our brow. Like, no.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really felt like with Colorado, I was getting more and more comfortable throughout the game, especially when it became clear that the deep ball wasn't a thing that they were even going to go for all that much, and that a lot of the offense did seem to be like, well, we're going to go for this. We're going to hope one of our playmakers makes Oregon, miss a tackle. And it was like the missed tackles weren't there, and they were like gangrene on their ass. Like there were 5 ducks around them like that.
So that's one of the things that yes, definitely. That's and I don't understand why Jesse Palmer decided as a talking point he was going to try to develop this argument that Oregon can't tackle, like especially immediately succeeding Evan Williams destroying a dude with a gorgeous tackle. I was like, I was so offended by that, I decided to put a line in my article about it.
Oh, I loved that. That was a great job. I really did.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things that I put in my article, and I wasn't really trying to like throw shade at Colorado or call them cheaters or anything, and I understand there's been sort of a social media blow up about this. I'm not trying to participate.
They stomped on our O.
Yeah. I'm not really interested in the rah-rah stuff. Like every team tries to seek out an advantage, and every team, tries to play as far as they can, including into gray areas, including Oregon. So I'm not trying to seek, the moral high ground here, in any way, shape, or form. Oregon certainly tries to bend the rules as much as they can to their favor. If you're not doing so, you're not playing as hard as you can. Not
Right.
the point of this argument. I'm just trying to use my job as a film reviewer to identify all of the ways that all of the things that every team is doing in order to try to win the game and explain them. So one of the ways that Colorado was trying to win the game is that, or leverage what they could, given Oregon's defensive strengths, was they were running rub routes. Essentially, they were using two different wide receivers in combination, where, because they knew that Oregon was blitzing a lot, and usually when you're blitzing, you go to man coverage. The difference between man and zone coverage is that in zone coverage, you're defending an area in space, right? Each defender is like, I am assigned to this zone of grass, right? Whereas in man coverage, you're like, I am defending this human being, and wherever he runs, I run, right? So, and when you're blitzing, because you have more dudes who are running at the rusher, you have fewer dudes in coverage, right? And that means, well, we have fewer human beings running around, and so therefore, we can't really do this zone thing. I mean, you can do zone blitzing, such a thing exists, but usually you go to man when you're blitzing. And so one of the things that you can do against man is sort of run your receivers in such a way such that like one receiver runs in such a way that the man who is covering him runs into a man who is covering another receiver, and then when those two defenders bump into each other, then like they have, it's sort of like a screen in basketball, right? Which is a little confusing because screen means a little something different in football.
Oh, it's all confusing. There's
I know
meshes and rubs. And,
right. So anyway, so Colorado was extensively using rub routes in that way. And so rub means, you rub two defenders against each other, right? Colorado is extensively using rub routes to the extent that there are a couple of plays in which they actually cause collisions. And I am actually dinging Oregon players on several plays for not seeing it coming and avoiding those collisions. Now, the pass rush actually got home fast enough that it didn't matter, that they were still like putting the quarterback on his back so that even but I'm still pointing out, hey, look in the back of the field, that receiver is wide open. If the quarterback wasn't on his back, like that would have been a completed pass. And earlier in the game, there is like one of the few completed passes they get for like 15 yards. Like, it's because of that. Now, on that particular play, in which they get 15 yards and then they get another 15 yards tacked on because there's a roughing the passer penalty, and the roughing the passer penalty is deserved. Like Tatum Tuyati, totally, it's a completely inappropriate high hit. He should have been flagged for it. But on that play, the Colorado wide receiver who's conducting the rub, like I don't really enjoy, like I'm not coming after the officials here. This happens in every game. That they missed it is human. Don't go yelling at the Pac-12 officials for this. It's totally human that they missed it. Like,
we'll post those refs' addresses now. Right. Actually,
he puts his shoulder into Jaleel Florence. Like, it's illegal. It's offensive pass interference. Like, the receiver cannot initiate contact on a downfield passing play, and he does. Like, it's illegal, and that's the reason why the play is successful. That doesn't happen on every play. But I'm just saying it's part of Colorado's. It was part of Colorado's strategy. It was not a successful part of Colorado's strategy because Oregon was getting home anyway. But if Oregon plays teams in the future that use a rub strategy and their offensive line is not as ineffective as Colorado's was, Oregon needs to look out. And this is the point of me writing film review articles, is for all the Oregon fans out there who are popping off fireworks like, hey, man, the defense, was vulnerable to this. And they need to look out for it in the future because they're not always going to be playing offensive lines whose tackles are 6'10" and are ineffective because of it. Adam, as I'm sure you recall when we were talking to Jack, and how like excited Colorado and Colorado fans were about their enormous tackles, and I was like, you shouldn't be excited about tackles who are taller than 6'7", it's a liability, and it's, you saw why. Well, guess what? Most of the tackles that they're playing are not 6'10", and are not liabilities for that reason. So look out.
In that same vein, as in something that, like, in this game, it didn't really matter because, our offense was so just ridiculous and, like, had so many explosive plays. In the same vein of something like this could bite us in the future against a better team, say, in Salt Lake City, in Seattle, against USC. The penalties, especially in the first half, did really, obviously what they do, they like hindered some drives, but then there'd be a big play or like a ballsy like, on fourth down or something like that. Is there any specific player, not to call anyone out too much or anything, or
no,
reason?
there's no. I was interested in that question too. Great minds, but no.
Hey.
And on top of that, like I would also say like there's like, so Oregon's offense had like two plays that were actually not even called back. They were downfield holding penalties, and it was just their yardage was reduced. One of them was appropriate. It was on Terrence Ferguson. Like, he really does just hold him. And like, it's not, look, man, that holding foul, it's not, they're in officiating is actually three different categories, but there's two that you are concerned with here for our purposes. There's advantage fouls and there's safety fouls. Safety fouls are flagged every single time because they're dangerous, right? Targeting is a classic example, right? Dangerous. Someone's health is, chop blocks, tripping, etc.
Would face masks go there too?
Yeah, sure.
Just,
Horse collar.
Sorry, just gotta know.
Hey, when you got one, Aaron, we need you to say it.
Give me the whole fucking list. I need every single one.
You get a point, Aaron.
Basically, if it's a 15-yard penalty, almost all of those. There are some exceptions.
Gotcha. That's okay.
The personal foul lists.
Sure.
The other kind are advantage fouls. Actually, when I said three, there's four. Sorry, I keep adding on. But then the advantage fouls are like holding or pass interference. These are fouls that are like, look, there's no one's like endangered by these. It's just you got an unfair advantage by breaking the rules, and the purpose of the penalty yardage is to eliminate the unfair advantage that you just got. So, like, yeah, Terrence Ferguson got a penalty. That's not the same thing as like an unsportsmanlike conduct, or a face mask penalty. That's just he got beat. He was blocking. He didn't get proper leverage on his block, so he held the the official saw it, and they flagged him for it. But it's the same thing as if like he didn't hold. It's the same thing as it, it's simply he got beat, right? It's the same thing as if he got beat, he didn't hold, the defender got past him and made the tackle.
It may be better even because we're talking about Pac-12 refs, and they may not see that. So,
yeah.
I mean, really, right?
Yeah, you don't start thinking that way. But my point being that like what you want to do to eliminate the penalties for advantage fouls is just be better at football. Yeah. Like, so what I would say to that is, hey, Terrence, like, get better leverage, like, don't let that guy get past you, and so it's like, yeah, just get better at football, man. And so, like, another one is, like, it's an RPO play. It was actually a gorgeous, totally gorgeous RPO play in which Troy Franklin is the one who's blocking down the sideline on the RPO play, and he's blocking, and they call him for holding downfield, and they call back the play on that. That one I thought was real ticky-tack. I didn't really think that was a good holding flag. Again, don't write to the officials and nasty grams or anything like that. I just didn't think that was an appropriate flag. But yeah, you know, they're human or whatever. But like, look, when it comes down to that sort of thing, like it's like, because I thought that his block was good, it was with good leverage, and he didn't have an unfair advantage. Whereas there were a bunch of other plays in this game where I thought that there was a defender who was going for the quarterback, and the blocker was preventing him from getting to the quarterback by grabbing and restricting him, and there should have been a flag. I thought that was very clear, and the flag was not forthcoming. I'm not saying on which team that flag should have been thrown. I'm just saying that, you know, the officials, you know, I think, you know, got threw some flags that they shouldn't have and didn't throw some flags that they should have. Why? Because they're human beings. You know, they're not perfect. They're not robots. Like, you know, it is what it is.
Well, you know, and that's why I say we do need robots to be refs.
I would love it if we had robots being refs. That would be great.
Give me a grid system of drones just constantly hovering over and around the field. I'm for it.
Or locators from like Werner Vinci novels. Yeah, I'm into it.
A duck that I did not think would become maybe my favorite duck on this team right now, but very much is I think I'm falling in love with Kyrie Jackson. And maybe
he had a very nice game.
Oh my gosh. Like, especially because, you know, I think the Texas Tech game, there's a few mistakes that were very visible and in key moments that stuck with a lot of people. But you saw him, like, you know, you saw him turning around and actually defending the ball. The only thing I would say, and
in 2 weeks, 2 weeks is the, you know, that much improvement in 2 weeks.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is, like, I would love, you know, a few. I mean, he's already gotten some interceptions too, but like I would love, you know, there's a couple of times where it nearly was a pick. This is the only game in which we lost the turnover battle.
It's true.
Which, meaning, you know,
it is astonishing, you know, given how much pressure the quarterback was under for him never to have turned the ball over. In fact, one of the clips in my article that I put in, I went on my way to note that, like, the fact that the quarterback didn't fumble on this sack is amazing. Like, way to go, dude. Like, that's incredible. Like, he had, like, 3 different, like, I think a lesser quarterback would have fumbled on, like, 3 different, you know, opportunities to fumble. Like, you know, he's going to throw the ball, and then he gets hit in one way, and then he's being raked on a third way, any one of which a lesser quarterback would have fumbled. And instead he grips the ball very effectively, and it's just like, damn, dude. Like, way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other last thoughts on this game? I mean, fortunately, it feels kind of like the Hawaii game where you're kind of like, oh yeah, you know, there's some stuff we can improve, but overall
there is some stuff that Oregon can improve. The run blocking is still not elite yet. There's a couple areas where Bo Nix is not perfectly sharp. Like, I still don't think he's recaptured his 2022 form. I know he was like 16 for 17 on passing, but that, you know, completion percentage is not all that. Like,
he threw that hideous pick.
Yeah, I mean, where it's disguised zone coverage where they line up in their initial leverage, looks like man, but then they drop into zone, but there's no pressure on him, and it's very he has like a long time to look at the coverage, and it's very clear this is zone coverage, Bo. Like, that dude is in the lane, and it's like you can't just throw over that guy. He's kind of tall, like he's just gonna jump up, and you're throwing it anyway, and he jumped up and picked it. It was just like, what are you like? That was like, I mean, like, look, I'll speak it into the universe. That was bad, Bo. That was like Auburn. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, and now we only did it once, and there's a couple other plays where it's not. I guess I'll put it this way: like, Oregon in the first half had 9 failed passing plays. They each. 6 of them were due to a mistake that Bo Nix made. Each of those 6 things is a unique thing. Like, it's never once is it like a thing that Bo Nix repeated. It's just because the quarterback is such a central figure in football. like it's just unescapable. The quarterback is capable of screwing up in 6 different ways, whereas a running back is only capable of screwing up in like 1 or 2 ways, right? It's just that when you play 47 snaps and a half in which the quarterback touches the ball on all 47 of them, and he is capable of screwing up in 47 different ways, it's of course, the number one culprit is going to be the quarterback, just like, the number one recipient of glory is going to be the quarterback. It's just the nature of the position. I'm not like singling him out as like, oh my God, this dude, I'm just saying like it's just what happens. And again, there's no like pattern, like nothing repeated. I'm just saying that like if you're looking for a dude who played a perfect game, Bo Nix didn't play a perfect game. He made one of each of these, this mistake and this type of mistake and this type of mistake and this type of mistake. When I listed in the article, they weren't worth putting film clips in because none of they never repeated, but I listed them. He should have checked out of that play because the defense aligned properly. He should have recognized that disguised zone coverage. He shouldn't, he threw the ball too high one time, even though there was no pressure on it. It's just like, come on, it's just stuff to clean up. He like the referees is human.
Po Buddy's perfect. That's what I'll say.
Question.
Yes.
Random. One. Do you think he's missing opportunities where he can actually run the ball himself?
In this game, in the first half, I think there is one play where it's an RPO where how to answer this question. I think the RPO play design would be enhanced if he were allowed to keep the ball on the outside and then given the option to either keep the ball himself running it down the alley or throw it. But instead, he just throws it. So he does keep it, but so it's a triple option type of play. The first decision is keep or hand off down the middle, and the second decision is keep or throw it. And he's on that second decision, and this has been consistent all year long, he's just throwing it immediately and not keeping it. And I think that's under instruction. And I think the play would be better if it were live for him to be able to keep the ball and run it. And
okay. I think you
now,
got to the root. Yeah.
Now, that said, in this
game,
he does have in the first half, he does have 2 designed runs. One of them is on 3rd and 10, and he gets 8 yards on it. And actually, if the blocking from Marcus Harper were a little bit better, he doesn't get proper leverage on the dude, and he catches him from behind. But if the leverage were a little bit better, he would have gotten the first down, on that play. They ran him up the middle. It was a good, it was the correct read because the unblocked end was crashing on the back to the outside. It was an outside. The play is designed was an outside zone read keep, meaning that if he had handed off the ball, the running back would have run to the outside, but he kept the ball and ran to the inside. It was all proper, all the read was proper. It was just that Harper didn't quite have the right leverage on the block. The play appears in my article if you want to read it. I thought that was totally appropriate. And then the play that effectively ended the game, the touchdown, in which they went up 35-0, which was effectively the last play of the game of the first half, which effectively was the last play of the game because it put into garbage time, was a quarterback draw, designed, quarterback run, which you can tell because the offensive line goes down blocking, which, side note, on that 6th possession, the left guard, they had rotated in Dave Iuli, the redshirt freshman for Marcus Harper. So, Oregon's starting to play even more freshmen on their offensive line. Interesting. And Iuli is the guy who runs down as that lead blocker and gets the key block that springs Nix for that quarterback draw for that run for that touchdown. So that's a designed run too. So I actually think this amount of quarterback running is just about perfect. Like, keep him healthy.
Okay.
And this is actually one of the my comment on my own article, which I always do. It's sort of like putting $1 in your own tip jar, to sort of seed it so that it doesn't look all lonely and people, customers put tips in.
Or subscribing to your own Patreon.
Yeah. I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Yeah, the comment that I made in my article is just like those in the last two coordinators that Oregon has had, Joe Moorhead and Kennedy Dillingham, the used quarterback runs to control the safeties, in order to open up the box, or in order to open up the deep passing game. And it's interesting, Stein, I think, probably because he's under instruction from Dan Lanning to we're not running the quarterback that much. We learned our lesson from last year when Nix got hurt. Is like,
especially against Colorado, this isn't a close game right now.
Yeah, and when you've got defenders who are threatening to beat the shit out of players. Exactly. He's like, okay, let's not run him so much. But still figure out a way to control the safeties and win the box count. Figure out alternate ways to do it. They're running constraint plays, which is why you're seeing so many throws to the sideline, so many screen passes, so many RPOs, and other plays which are meant to control the safety. So one of the plays that you see in my article, it's that corner route to Troy Franklin, the really gorgeous one. It's an RPO. And throwing a corner route in the RPO is really difficult because the timing is essential. Because he's running downfield. I mean, it's like an 18. Because the offensive line is going to go downfield and block on the run, and they can only go 3 yards downfield. And it's not like Colorado's defensive lines presenting much resistance, right? So he's got to nail that timing, man. But the actual real threat of the run, it's not just a little fake play action. It's a real threat of a run. That's what controls number 43, Trevor Woods, the safety, and keeps him inside, so that Franklin has a one-on-one with their cornerback, who I believe is number 4, Jay, who Jack Barsh, thanks a lot, Jack, he mentioned, was coming back for this game, and his prediction proved prescient, because that was the guy that they had on Troy Franklin for most of the night, which was really a mistake. They should have had a Marion Cooper on him. I don't know why their defensive coordinator made that decision. That was a very foolish decision by Charles Kelly. Marion Cooper was way better cornerback than Travis Jay, who was coming off of an injury. You have a rusty cornerback playing against Oregon's top receiver who got the majority of downfield targets in the first half. That was a dumb decision, Coach Kelly. Anyway, not that Troy Franklin had a difficult time beating Cooper. I mean, he beat Cooper on the 2-point conversion immediately following the play that I'm talking about. But anyway, that was that diamond formation thing. It was entirely done to create single coverage. There's another constraint play for you. Anyway, what was the point that I was making? Oh yeah, they did the RPO just to pull Woods out so that Franklin would have one-on-one against Jay, and of course Franklin cooked his ass because that's how we do. But yeah, that's a constraint play. And Oregon is offensive coordinator Stein is using constraint plays in the passing game rather than running the quarterback so much in order to win the box count and control the safeties to open up these deep passing. And that's what they're doing to keep Nix healthy, and still, leverage an advantage. And that's, the major difference between Stein and Dillingham and Moorhead.
Mm-hmm. I think, like any kind of good offense, I think they're waiting to use that QB run when it's going to be more of a surprise, when it's more effective.
I mean, that's basically what Hythloday just broke down, right? Is that we made it a surprise on him because every time we had the chance, we decided to throw again. So they're just going to keep throwing it because they're afraid, and then bang.
I wouldn't be. I mean, that was the 2019 Rose Bowl thing. The we kept this show pony upright the entire year. Well, what do we got to lose? This guy's going to the NFL tomorrow. I guess we'll run him now. I actually disagree with what you just said. I don't think they're going to run Bo Nix. I think they're going to run constraint, very much anyway, other than a couple of times to keep the defenses honest. I don't think a big fat Bo Nix run, is coming and they're just keeping their powder dried, for it to be surprised. I don't think that's going to happen at all this year. Until maybe the very end of the year, in which they do the 2019 Rose Bowl thing, in which they're like, "Oh, you're not my problem anymore. Go get hurt. I don't care."
I mean, basically. All right, y'all. Let's get in to one of the great segments on this show, if not the great segment of this show, since it's basically the only segment, and that is the picks. The picks. That is right, y'all. The picks, the Great Pick'em Challenge. Now, we got a couple of teams going into bye weeks, actually, so I figured we'd talk a little bit about them. Bye. UCLA, speaking of bye, a lot of their offensive hype went bye-bye when they went to Salt Lake City, and they lost by a score of 14-7. You don't see that very much in college football.
God dang it. Did I pick UCLA?
I got it written down, but I forget. I tallied it all up, but I forget exactly who you chose. Dante Moore had what a freshman going to Salt Lake City usually looks like experience. UCLA's defense was good, but also let's not give them too much credit because this particular Utah offense is banged the hell up. It is impressive. At this point with what Utah's going through, I am impressed just of the that they're winning, that they're winning in hideous fashion, but that they are 4-0 is good for them. With a quarterback they were not planning on having. This was, from what I've seen of this game, was a pretty ugly one. Just two defenses teeing off. Dante Moore not having a great time. And actually, so it was like his first play. I believe his first play was a pick six.
Very first play, pick six.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to college football, young man. You should have come to Oregon and redshirted. It was a dumb decision.
Well, he'll be here next year. Don't worry about it. But
that'll be a smart decision.
It was a very Utah game. They're still doing it. They're still getting away with it. I would love to play this Utah team right now because I still am more afraid of them later in the season when Cam Rising and maybe Brant Keithy comes back. Who knows at this point?
Yeah,
but,
who knows?
Yeah.
That's what I said when we talked about this. Is just like even if those guys came back for this game, they'd be rusty, And that's why I thought UCLA probably had the edge on this game. Although, it is true. Props to Utah's defense; they were definitely the best squad on this. I don't think that this was, hey, what a great performance by UCLA's defense. I actually think that Utah's offense looked terrible and UCLA's defense also looked terrible, and it was just a struggle fest. When it was Utah's possession versus UCLA's defense. I think that both of those teams are really, really gettable, and I think they will continue to be until Rising and Keithy get back, and then B, it's been a couple of games, and they shake the rust off. So pretty late in the season. They still can't run. Utah still can't run, which is really bad. And I don't think it's because of UCLA's rush defense. And I really am. I'm going back to my original off-season predictions about UCLA's offense. I don't think that Chip Kelly knows how to do this playbook. I really don't think he knows what he's doing in terms of this, this playbook. I'm not really trying to take much away from Utah's defense. I think that Utah has a good defense, but I think this is not the buzzsaw Chip Kelly, offense, because he doesn't know what he's doing with that Dorian Thompson-Robinson or his ilk to bbail him out.
Instead of a pure pocket passer.
Yeah, right. As opposed to a quarterback who's the best athlete on the field doing athletic stuff, and a running back like Zach Charbonnet doing athletic stuff. I think that's and then designing a playbook that's two reads and run, which is Chip Kelly's playbook. I don't think he knows how to do this, and that's why Utah kicked his ass.
Would you feel comfortable saying Utah has the best defense in the Pac-12?
I'm not comfortable saying that right now.
Do you feel comfortable saying that about anyone right now?
No, because they've only played one conference game, except for USC's played two.
In my head, it was almost like the fact that Utah is winning these games with their offense being so bad makes me want to give them a few more points or whatever it's worth, because it is bonkers how much they're having to do in every single.
I guess
one
I'm
of these
putting.
games.
I'm very glad that Oregon doesn't play Utah until later in the from a film reviewer, from
Yes.
from the perspective of somebody who has to write an article about Utah. I'm very glad that Oregon doesn't have to play them until later in the season when I will get some more representative film on them.
As a Duck
yeah.
fan, I would have rather played them this week in Colorado.
That's why I checked myself. I was like, no, as a Duck fan, you play them right now. Yeah, right.
All right, let's go into this next bye week. Washington State, the winner of the Pac-2, we should say. The Crowns right now.
Amen.
Up to number 16. Wazoo really blindsided me this season so far, and I don't want to give them, like too much Colorado-esque hype.
I feel like it's going to fall apart soon.
They're doing great. I mean, their defense has been surprisingly pretty fun to watch. Like, I'm not going to say great or anything, but not a liability. Has gotten them into some really great situations in games. Cam Ward is playing better and better. He has a very long low light reel too, if you really want to watch it. But overall, I think Cam Ward is a plus for this team, and they just beat the Beavers. The Beavers, they've been getting a bit too much goodwill thrown their way because they ain't played anybody. It was mainly at home, and I think people were maybe hedging too much of their bet on this Beaver defense just for some reason being the greatest. And Wazoo really shut them up. Like, this game was not as close as the final score indicated. Did you catch any of this, Hythloday? Did you see any highlights or anything like that?
I did not watch this game. I did put it through the regression engine because Oregon's playing Wazoo the week after the bye. What it spit out, confirmed or provided some evidence of a couple of theories that I have about both of these teams. Not that Wazoo won. That the data point that's sort of the sticking point is that Cam Ward appears to be an actually improved quarterback compared to last year. I'm still interested in actually watching the film to see about that. Yeah. Which I still haven't. Like, I really haven't done any serious film watching on Cam Ward, which I need to do. Like, I'm glad that I have the bye week to really catch up on my film on that guy, which is why I'm not seriously going to weigh in on my opinion about Washington State, because like that's I need to do that. Like, I have neglected to do so far, for obvious reasons, but I just haven't. So don't ask me real questions about that because it's like a real missing data point for me. But like, the rest of the stuff, like, like Wazoo can't stop the run. Like, they really can't. Like, when Oregon State started their comeback, like, let me read you the drive chart from the drive in which they started their. So the fourth quarter, they had 3 consecutive touchdown drives to make this a 3-point game. Here's the first one. Damian Martinez run, DJ Uyunglele run, Deshaun Fenwick run, DJ Uyunglele pass, Deshaun Fenwick run, DJ Uyunglele pass, Deshaun Fenwick run, DJ Uyunglele run for a touchdown. Wazoo can't stop the run, because they don't have any defensive tackles. And the reason, and the other thing that the regression engine spit out was that the reason why Wazoo was sitting on them for the first 3 quarters of the game was that Oregon State was convinced that they could throw the ball with their shiny new quarterback that they got from Clemson. And guess what? He can't. Like, he sucks. Which is exactly what I expected over the offseason. And like, this was Oregon State's like, oops, they messed around and found out, moment, which like anybody could have told them after watching the San Diego State game, which I definitely did watch. And like, so like Oregon State should have, that fourth quarter drive that I just read aloud, in which they were like, well, I guess we should do what we should have been doing all along and ran our great running backs behind our great offensive line because Wazoo can't stop us. Like, if they had done that all game long, which is why I picked the Beavs to win, like, they might have won. But instead, what they did was they're like, well, we have a great quarterback, so we're in a great quarterbacks coach, Brian Lindgren, and so they didn't win. And it's like, and I'm really rapidly losing faith in the Oregon State coaching staff as a competent group of individuals.
it really is DJU like missing some real easy open passes, like literally like just checking down sometimes missing, like it's kind of nuts. But there you go, Wazoo. Still pretty inspirational.
And like we also knew over the offseason that Oregon State's defense was going to fall off a cliff. All the playmakers that they had last year were like 6th-year seniors. In particular, like the couple of dudes, the cornerbacks that they sent to the NFL, and that if Wazoo's passing game was for real, which again I wasn't certain of, because I hadn't really watched Cam Ward and I hadn't really watched the replacement wide receivers. Remember, Adam, when we talked to Jeff over the offseason, because their wide receivers got poached by like Oklahoma State and a couple other teams, and they had to replace them with G5 dudes, and we're like, well, I guess we'll see if that works out. And then I haven't watched them to see if they've been working out. Like, yeah, that's another thing that I need to watch them to find out if they're working out. But like, yeah, if those guys are working out against like Oregon State's like now depleted defense, like, yeah, that would be another reason to believe that like, yeah, the Wazoo, why they would have scored 28 points in the first half. Yeah,
we'll see. Cougs, believe in the Cougs or not, don't really care.
But I don't. But may not be, on the other hand, but may not be something that you can bet on, with a lot of confidence going forward, because it could be that it's just that Oregon State's defense sucks now.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I'm going to have to watch some film on that question.
We shall see. Now comes the actual picking, which means I need to grab something to write our picks down.
I need to communicate with the universe.
You good?
I was just filling in time for you to grab that pad.
All right, well, okay. Well, I got it. Now, Oregon State, number 19 Oregon State, which I was happy to see, because I wanted Wazoo to win because they were at the time lower ranked, and I knew if they beat Oregon State's probably not dropping out of the top 25, which is my end game, really. Keep as many of these going. Now, yeah, basically.
You got to find whichever plate is most wobbly and spin that one.
Which in this case, the most wobbly plate is still Oregon State, but they're at home, okay? They're in the dam. And they're going against number 10, Utah. Number 10, Utah, which Cam Rising seems to continue to be on the verge of maybe playing, but we really don't know until it actually comes down to it. Number 19, Oregon State versus number 10, Utah. This is Friday at 6 p.m. on FS1. Aaron, would you like to start with your picks here? I believe you are.
I do, but I just have a query, which is, how did Utah? Did we talk about Utah's last game? Who did they play again? Please remind me.
Utah. Oh yeah, they
right.
played
Yeah.
UCLA,
Right. Okay,
not much of an offense, but quite a defense.
Based off the few things I've heard Hythloday say about
of course
the two teams in which this is questioned, I'm gonna have to go with the Utes.
You're going with the Utes.
I
on
think
the road,
so.
Eh? Me, this is tough. This is tough. Now, Utah's offense, I think, has proven at this point, especially without Cam Rising, even with Cam Rising maybe, is straight up not very good. Yet
really?
They keep winning. I would say so, yes. I feel confident in saying this is not a good offense. That being said, Oregon State has looked vulnerable, as we said with DJU, has not been, the QB god they were hoping to get. He looks much more like the player he was at Clemson. Would you like to change? What's going on?
I just need to ask Hythloday a very quick question. I'm so sorry because you were getting
is the question who is going to win this game? Because if it is, I'm going to be pissed off. Okay.
It's Hythloday. Do the Utes have, or do the Utes have a good run defense?
I think they have a pretty decent run defense.
Sticking with the Utes.
Okay.
I
don't think the run defense is a massive liability. I guess I'll put it that way.
Okay, cool.
Will Jonathan Smith cut the bullshit out and just run, and then every once in a while do a play action. That's the real question.
Take a drag or two.
They are at home. I'd like to think Oregon State is going to rally for this one.
Nah.
Maybe I'm going with my heart a little bit too much.
Yep.
But also, one team doesn't have very good offense, and they're on the road. So I'm going to go with Oregon State. I'm going with Oregon State in the upset.
I love it.
A little afraid that that's not going to happen, but I'll feel confident in Nate Johnson's QB. How about you, Hythloday? Who are you going with?
Well, I don't think Oregon State would be the upset. I think they are favored by Las Vegas.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not real confident in either one of these teams for reasons that we talked about both of these teams already. Oregon, I guess I'll put it this way. I think that, given the uncertainty with Utah, which I talked a lot about last week, and I think continues, I should be more confident in Oregon State, but the fact that they, as far as I can tell, without really having watched the game, just running the numbers through the regression engine, I really think they screwed up last week. It sort of like rattled my confidence in their coaching staff. All right. I'm not going to overreact to that game. Give me the Beavs. They're playing at home.
God.
There we go.
Something got stuck in me that I just keep going with the Utes, and they keep losing. Something's stuck in me.
They don't keep losing. They're 4-0.
Yeah, they've only won.
Oh, they've only won?
Yeah,
they're undefeated.
Shit. Well, okay. Oh, well, then that makes the odds even greater that Oregon State will win, because every time you go undefeated, the likelihood of you losing the next game is larger. Shit.
I'll believe that.
Not
math,
the case.
I
That
guess.
is textbook gambler's fallacy.
Give me 2,000 on the Utes.
Colorado versus number 8 USC.
Ooh.
Now USC, I'll tell you this, they played against Arizona State. Apparently Kenny Dillingham is now taking over the play calling. He's a fun dude to watch.
That
and
is
root
really
for.
interesting, by the way, for Bo Baldwin's purposes. Bo Baldwin and Troy Taylor were at Eastern Washington at the same time. Bo Baldwin was the head coach. Troy Taylor was the offensive coordinator. Eastern Washington set a bunch of records. Those coaches go on to get Power 5 jobs because everybody's like, oh, it's an equal, brain trust. Both of them wind up getting fired. Bo Baldwin from Cal, Troy Taylor from Utah. They both wind up back in the Power 5. Troy Taylor at Stanford, Bo Baldwin at Arizona State. But Bo Baldwin immediately gets his play calling duty stripped from him again by Kenny Dillingham. Troy Taylor is at Stanford. I don't know, man. I sort of think that Troy Taylor, but when Troy Taylor was at Sac State, he won a bunch of championships and stuff. I sort of think no, it must have all been Troy Taylor, and that Bo Baldwin might be a fraud.
He
got and Troy Taylor got fired from Utah because Kyle Whittingham just fires offensive coordinators for not loving tight ends enough, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe Bo was just saying Vernon Adams do something.
Yeah.
Every single play. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this: ASU had some fight in them. It was pretty fun to watch. I mean, it was like a 3-point
Cam
game.
Scattaboo had some fight in him.
Ooh, Scattaboo! I loved Scattaboo. I mean, the name alone was very fun. But ASU had some fight in them, which also goes to show you with USC, where it's like, God damn, yes, they have a good offense, and yes, there's going to be some big plays had no matter what's going on, but their defense is straight up very vulnerable.
It was funny. I was watching I did my film study of the USC Stanford game on the flight out to the wedding, and well, you know what? I'm going to say this for my USC preview. There are some vulnerabilities to USC this year that are not just on the defense. And I don't know that Colorado is positioned to exploit them.
No.
But there are some vulnerabilities to USC this year.
And I think they dropped a little bit in the polls, if that means anything. I feel like it's. Yeah. Will Colorado be the one that comes in here? I mean, if you want to get back on the hype train, Aaron.
This is how you do
Deion
it.
hype train. This is it. If they beat USC, it's in Boulder.
I mean, that's what I said to Jack was my preferred. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
this is how you do. Like get down. Like this is the Rocky moment. You know, you go down, but then you're triumphant.
Yeah. What do you think, Aaron?
This
You
is
go
the
ahead.
Fuck. I mean,
I'm baiting you.
I know. And here's the problem is that I feel like I'm just on a different track, you know? I don't need to follow that train. It's not going to take me where I want to go. So the train has left the station. I'm waiting on the 43. I got to go with USC.
Okay, it rhymed. I'm also going with USC. Too much talent. Specifically offensive talent.
I will also go with USC, also specifically because they have plays that will embarrass Colorado number 43.
Okay.
There you go.
Safety who wears number 43.
Oh, wow.
Will be control the way that Lincoln Riley assembles his power RPO scheme controls the safety that wears that jersey number. It's funny that you said that number. Sorry, that was really nerdy. Wow, holy shit.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I will,
liked it.
you know, just because you're in a crystal ball state, I got to ask you, how do you actually see the rest of Colorado's season going?
Oh,
Are they about to start the fire that will become? Are they putting the dumpster into place so that they may set it to fire? Or
I don't know. It's that deliberate, but like, I would, with the possible exception of Cam Ward, because like I said, I haven't done enough film study on the guy for this year yet. I would put Shiloh Sanders as either the number 4 or number 5 quarterback in the Pac-12, which would make him the number 4 or number 5 quarterback in America. And like, I really do think he's that good. Like, I do like Sean Lewis as a play caller. I think that offense is dangerous against, you know, teams that don't have just an excellent pass rush and coverage. You know, they have obvious liabilities in terms of, you know, the absence of the rushing game. But I mean, that, you know, hey, that never held Mike Leach back before. You know, their defense is actually, like, their defense has obvious liabilities. But as you saw, like, when their pass rush works, which is about half of the time, they can actually get through. Like, I spent a lot of time trying to tell people that, like, like, I actually thought that they had that they might get through a couple of times, and hey, they sacked Bo Nix, you know, like Josh Connerly like didn't drop fast enough, and Dominic got through, like and like, you know, and it's like super aggressive, you know, like they're guessing constantly, you know, which pays off sometimes and gets them negative yardage plays, which they got against Oregon a couple of times. Like, it also opens them up to big plays, but like, hey, you know, risk reward. And it just straight up was, I mean, look at the talent chart that I produced. Like, they straight up upgraded their roster from, like, you know, 10th or 11th place in the Pac-12 to like right in the middle of the pack. And like, what happens when you upgrade your roster and you have a really good quarterback is that, like, hey, you're better than half the teams in the Pac-12. So like, so what should happen when you're better than, or you know, that means that you should win like maybe half your games. So like,
yeah.
I don't know. Let me
Goal should be a bowl.
you say they're like a 7-8 win.
Well, it
team?
sort of depends on what their schedule is. I can't remember if they play Stanford or not. For example, I think they miss Stanford, which is like that, which really would stink for them. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up their schedule right now. Vamping.
I got it right here. Yeah. I mean, coming up, they got USC, then ASU, Stanford.
I mean, like, ASU is definitely beatable.
Yeah,
UCLA.
Stanford.
But they don't play Stanford this year.
They play Arizona.
I mean,
yeah, those are the likely 3 wins.
I mean, let's.
Oh,
no, they do play Stanford. I'm sorry, I can't read. Okay, so like Arizona State's a beatable team. Stanford's a beatable team. UCLA is a beatable team for Colorado. Oregon State is a beatable team for Colorado. Arizona's a beatable team for Colorado. I don't know.
Wow.
Washington State, I got to do some film study on them. Utah, I don't.
They have
a Utah is a sort
opponent.
of a valence team. I don't like. Who knows what Cam Rising's status is going to be? Like, I don't like. I guess I'll put it this way. I don't see, other than USC, which I really have a hard time seeing them beat USC. Like, you know, the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Utah at Bryce Eccles might be unbeatable. I think 6 of the remaining 8 teams on their schedule. 6 of the remaining 8 teams on their schedule, I don't look at that team and say, oh my God, no way are they beating them.
I would say
that doesn't mean, they're
winning all
definitely
six.
going to win
Yeah.
those 6. That's not the same
Yeah.
thing as saying 6 wins guaranteed. I'm saying they have 6 winnable games remaining of the 8 remaining
Wow.
games on their schedule, which means, they only need to win 3 to go to a bowl. So,
Right.
flip a coin in those 6 games. Yeah.
All right. Well, Adam, I'm looking at my route here, and it turns out I was on the 40. I was waiting for the 43 South. I needed to be on the 43 North. I'm back on the train, baby. I want to go with Colorado, but not in this game. But I'm going to stay hyped for Deion.
So you're not going for Colorado, okay?
Not in this
That's all I
game.
need.
But
Yeah.
as for the season, I'm back on the hype train, but I
good,
need them to
okay.
lose this game.
Okay. Well, you'll
To
probably
charge him up,
wish.
right?
Yeah,
to
really
further-
charge him up.
Like Rocky's got to lose to Apollo Creed.
Right.
True enough. Okay.
Oh, shit.
California. That's
Uh-huh.
right. Cal versus ASU. Now, Cal, they just played Washington on the road. It was not a good start for them. They were down. They had 14 points scored on them before Washington's offense touched the field.
Yeah, he was bad. Yeah, like Michael Penix didn't come onto the field until 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah. And then proceeded to score a bunch of points. That being said, late in the game, I would say garbage time, Cal was able to put on a good amount of points, over 30 points on Washington.
I didn't watch this game, but like I said, I put it through the regression engine. Washington's defense has a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Washington's defense is a problem, but I will say this, I'm still horrified of them because sticking with the boxing metaphor, it kind of feels like you're watching your opponent warm up, right? And you're like, oh, well, he's got a glass jaw. If you hit him in the stomach, it won't be that good. But then but he also has a guaranteed haymaker that if it connects will knock your fucking head off.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the idea, and he's willing to throw it nonstop because it feels just like their passing game is amazing. They have so many flaws otherwise, but they do have the capability of just bombing it nonstop, and they want to do that, and
So he's
that
Soda
is their
Popinski.
goal. What was that?
So he's Soda Popinski.
Soda Popinski. I have no idea who that is.
Soda
From Mike
Popinski.
Tyson's Punch-Out?
Oh, there you go. Okay. Now I get it. Yeah, yes, they are
So it's
Soda
a-
Popinski.
So it's
And,
a team that's
it is
just
good.
running is
Also purple.
they're yeah. It's a
Oh,
team
there you
that's in a full-on sprint, hoping that they can just keep running in that
Yeah.
sprint longer than the other team is what it sounds like.
I mean, it is nuts how effective their passing game is and how it just balls to the wall they are to do it.
Wow.
That being said, Cal was able to score on their bad defense quite a bit. That's probably they beat
When they're not throwing pick sixes.
and they beat Idaho. Those are and UNT. Those are the nice things I have to say about Cal. They are not a very good team whatsoever.
Right.
It sucks. They couldn't
Neither
beat
is Arizona
Auburn.
State.
Arizona
Right.
State also bad. They showed some signs of life against USC. So these are two living teams.
They are made of humans.
They are not dead. This is at Cal. That doesn't mean shit. No one gives two.
I mean, unless the
ducks.
hellmouth opens and swallows them, which is a non-zero probability when you're playing in Strawberry Canyon. I mean,
And if that were to happen, the Sun Devil would emerge from there, and that would maybe be an advantage for them. Who do you got, Aaron? I don't have any advice for you on this one. These are
I
two
feel
bad
like
teams.
Arizona State is a piece of shit. And so therefore I have to pick Cal.
How dare
Like,
you? Kenny
hasn't
Dillingham.
Arizona State just shown historically we suck? It's been a few years, right?
They've been bad for a while.
It's a bit
yeah.
of a cursed team.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Cal. Just because,
I'll tell you this.
because
Not a bad choice, but I'm gonna go with who I think is the hungrier team. And I think even though ASU has no bowl game to play for because they literally cannot go to a bowl game, they're not allowed to.
right.
I think that just the amount of energy and the frantic energy Kenny Dillingham has, and just I think he will do everything to try to get some points on the board. And I really want to root for Scottaboo because his name's fun to say and he's a fun player to watch. I'm going with the fighting Scottaboos. I'm going with ASU. These are bad teams though. Hythloday, do you have an inkling one way or the other?
Well, I'm going to go with Cal because I think Arizona State's quarterback situation is just a nightmare right now.
What, Drew Pine? You don't have much Drew Pine faith?
Yeah. The end. I don't want to this game anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, good call. Okay, Stanford versus number 9 Oregon, Saturday 3:30 p.m. Pac-12 Network. I'm not even afraid of the fucking Stanford jinx. We are going to absolutely destroy them. I just want to beat them by more than USC beat them, which may actually be hard because at a certain point you're just being mean. That probably means we need to score on defense. But because, I want to really, really, really beat the crap out of them, and I think we will. And I think we'll continue our reign of being one of, if not the best scoring offense in all college football. So I'm going with Oregon, obviously, and cover whatever it is. Aaron, who do you got?
I think we're going to score 56 points on them.
56 points. How much do you think they're going to score if you want to be specific about it?
I don't know that they will. Maybe they'll get a field goal or two. They might get some kind of a weird thing on the defense where they pick up a fumble that was like gonna be a touchdown, you know what I mean? But maybe we got like a little silly and did the celebrate on the 3-yard line. And
so what we did to Utah all those years ago? You think there's gonna be a 99-yard?
There's gonna be something weird,
return.
Maybe, but
Okay.
I just see it being 56 to like 0.
That'd be nice. I would like that. That was basically the halftime score against USC. So yeah,
I just want to be that team that it's like we can't not get above 40 points per game.
I would like that too. Except Texas Tech, we only got like 38 or something. But yeah,
that doesn't count. That averages out.
Doesn't count. Hith, who you got? Stanford or Oregon?
I'm going to take Oregon. The only interesting thing is like the side action. Does Oregon get the shutout? Does Oregon cover the spread? I'm seeing 27.5 as the spread, which feels low, or unless Vegas, is trying to pull a prank or something. But Oregon by 4 scores definitely feels right to me. And I also think this is probably Oregon's best shot at a shutout all year. I think they'll probably play for it. So give me that side act. That'll be when you ask me at the end of the podcast for weird predictions. That'll be at Oregon in the shutout.
Ooh.
The weird thing to predict about this game, which I will devote some energy to when I have to write my article on Friday because I got to devote some energy to something, is they're doing 2 quarterbacks this year, Daniels and Lamson. I don't think entirely by choice because Daniels keeps getting hurt. But I can't quite figure out what their system is, why they're doing their rotations, like separating out when it's due to injury and when it's planned, and and what, if anything, one quarterback has over the other, like if they have like different strengths or weaknesses, and I guess that means that Oregon coaches have some work cut out for them in figuring out strengths and weaknesses. I wish they didn't have to do that work, so they would just spend 2 weeks planning for Washington.
Yeah, maybe they are.
In which case, that would endanger the shutout.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on to this next one. Arizona versus Washington. Now we love the idea of the desert. The desert magic, the desert curse, the curse of the desert. When you go down to Tucson, especially when you're a Pacific Northwest team, specifically, bad things happen, no matter how high ranked you are and no matter how lowly they are. Washington's pretty freaking good, though. Arizona, I believe, will be out Jaden Delora. I know he got hurt. I'm not quite sure how severely. But their backup did lead the game-winning drive, so that's something. Aaron, how much faith you got in the Huskies? Who are you going with?
Oh, I'm obviously going with Washington. I think
You
it's
going with
obvious.
Washington?
Arizona,
Yeah,
probably not good.
they're not great. I mean, they beat Stanford by like 1 point, but that kind of actually means you're bad.
Yes,
Right.
that's exactly what that means.
Yeah. So in this game, I would love to say Arizona. I would love it, but also I would kind of hate it if Arizona were to beat Washington, because Arizona beating Washington still doesn't actually mean it doesn't increase our odds of beating them. It just makes it less impressive if we were to beat them. So we
Right.
want Washington to win, and they probably will win. It would be nice to see, though, if Arizona is also scoring a bunch of points with the backup QB, just to solidify. Okay, Washington has some serious problems. But Hith, are you going with the Wildcats? Should I pencil you in here?
Definitely not to win. I might take him to cover. It's a big spread. It's like 18.5 points for Washington to be playing in the desert, which like they never do well. Like if there's any team that's more of a desert curse team than Oregon, it is 100% Washington. Like
Yes.
they are even more desert cursed. So like they like somehow like Washington escaping Tucson with like a touchdown win like sounds about right to me, and you're just like what happened? But they were clearly the better team, but somehow they only won by 7. Like we're all is what we are all saying that the next day like it feels about right. The thing about like Arizona's performance against Stanford was that like they performed like their defense against Stanford's offense. This was the game that I watched on the plane on the way back. Was performed as I expected. Well, I mean, after I watched the first half of Oregon, Colorado, but like knocked that one out pretty quick. Given that Stanford's sort of like bumbling down the field and Arizona's defense is not very good, because of course it's not that Fish couldn't do enough to change his role. I mean, he tried really hard. Like he cleared out the entire defensive front. I mean, like I'm not joking. He had like one returner from his defensive front last year and deliberately, like he just booted him off the team and like got a bunch of new players, but like they're new players who like never played any football before. And like, oh, guess what? They're not much better. Like A for effort, like F for execution. Anyway, so like even a bumbly fuck team like Stanford was moving the ball against them, but like 20 points on like I think a touchdown, a bunch of field goals was about right. Anyway, the thing was that like you remember at the top of the podcast we were talking about like game control. Like Arizona's game control in this game for a win was terrible. Stanford was leading from like the second quarter for most of the game. Arizona had to have a late touchdown in order to pull ahead in this game. They had so many empty possessions. I think they had, let's see, what does the computer say? I think they had like 9 meaningful possessions in which they had like which were like empty possessions on 6 of them. It was like punt, turnover on downs, punt, like.
Which has been a lot of their season.
Yeah,
honestly.
It was just like Delora is not able. Like last year, he was connecting on a lot of those routes over the mid, and like he lost one of his. Here's the thing: he lost one of his receivers. Dorian Singer went to USC, the traitor. But it's like it didn't. And so everyone was like, well, without Dorian Singer, the passing offense just isn't working. That's not it. It's he's not connecting on those over the middle routes. It's like something's wrong with Jaden Delora. Something else, and it's like that or just like defenses now have a year of film on what the Jed Fish, Jaden Delora to Tedorowick McMillan and Jacob Cowing and McLaughlin, the tight end, like they have a year's worth of film on what that route is, because it was a one route offense. Like it's 3 receivers, but it's one route. And it's the only thing that they did. Oh, and the running backs were not bad, but you always have to be able to stop the that like that was the spark, was that one route. And I sort of think that's what's going on now, is that teams now know what's coming out of Arizona, and they are starting to be able to stop it. And they are like causing Arizona to have a bunch of empty possessions. And like if that's something that continues and even Stanford is able to pull off, like Arizona might be done. That
Wow.
might be really like have a struggle to like win games done. So like even a team like Washington, which I just got through saying is like their defense might have some problems. Like their defense might not have many problems with Arizona. Is the reason why. Like Desert Magic was what I let off talking about this game, and not Arizona's going to shred that lousy Washington defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Funny.
And here we go. The results. So this is from last week here.
Ooh.
I was trailing Hythloday. Hyth's got 30. I got
going
25.
into last week.
That's going
Correct.
into last week. Aaron got 23 points. Now with the results, that is right. Hyth, you got 3 of those picks right last week. I got 4. Aaron also got 3. Now, so I'm picking up. I mean, no one's too far off, but there's less.
It was because
picks.
you're Utah instead of UCLA pick, right? That's where
I
we
believe
disagreed.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every single pick means so much more now because there's only going to be, max 6 games, 4 games, really.
Jeez.
Yeah. So there you go.
We didn't really
That is-
disagree very often on this week, though.
No.
Which means
Well, it's becoming
chaos.
more obvious, I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of these games were pretty straight. A lot of big spreads this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as far as the specific, super specific predictions, we already know Hyth has got the big old goose egg, the big old duck egg
Love
laid
it.
by Stanford. Well, I guess if it's laid by that, the goose egg, the 0 points allowed. My super specific prediction, what am I going to say? You know what? Guess what? Bo Nix has a 50-yard touchdown run. We're going to unleash it on Stanford. Why not?
You
I
know,
be more like-
anti-predict that.
Yeah, I think it'll be more like it'll be one of those situations where he's like, well, I should run. It's open. Oh, I guess he had something like this last year where he's like, I guess I should run in the touchdown because it's almost lazy not to, like I could kneel now, but I'll go for it. So that's what I'm going to say. 50 yards specifically. If it's any more or less, I'm going to count it as wrong for me. I'm saying 50
okay.
yards.
Well, it's funny, Chimeo, because you and I are kind of on the same page right now,
Okay.
which makes me believe we are tapping into something. My prediction is Ty Thompson will run for 30 yards and score 14. He'll pass for 14 points.
For 14, so
2
two
touchdowns. 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Ty Thompson's
Yeah,
going to get
how about
2
2 touchdowns?
and he's going to run.
Okay.
That is a very intriguing prediction, Aaron.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that
So-
a lot.
I think that means 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion because you said throw for 14 points.
Well, I meant,
come on.
I
Don't
meant
put
he was
stipulations.
going to
Those are good,
get
but don't
us
put
2
stipulations on it.
touchdowns. It's,
2
bad.
touchdowns. Okay.
Ty
2 touchdowns.
Ty Thompson's responsible for 2 touchdowns, and he uses his legs a lot. That's a great prediction. I really like that.
Yeah.
Good prediction. Not gonna happen, but okay. All right,
I mean,
y'all.
he's also probably going to start the 3rd. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I
the
mean-
way things are going,
Yeah, I mean, I really think there's gonna be some tie time. You would hope so.
I love watching him out there. It's great to see him continue to flex because, I mean, Bo Nix is a threat, and people want to hurt threats, and that freaks me out.
I get it. Listeners,
Knock on
we'll
wood.
see y'all next week. Once again, please go over to Addicted to Quack, read Hythloday's Duct Tape articles, watch them, read them, smell them, eat them. They are wonderful. And then over at the Quack 12 Patreon is where you can give us $5 measly and help us out. Keep your eyes on this feed because we got a very fun conversation with a Stanford know-it-all, as if there's any other kind. Quack, quack. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye!